very exciting for me. It's my first time in the UK.
Oh, really?
Yeah. I was trying to come in 2012 and they wouldn't let me.
Oh.
Yeah. And they almost didn't let me this time too. Because I'm not
Right.
black.
Are you from a particular community in America?
I originally, I came from California.
Yeah.
SoCal.
Oh, yeah, okay. And are you the offspring of any devotees we might know?
No, I just came
into it.
Yeah.
Next one, to Srila Govinda Maharaj, is it?
Yes, I just taught him before he left. So
Oh, yeah, okay.
2009. And Siddhanta Maharaj as well.
Huh?
I got to spend time with Siddhanta Maharaj before he passed away.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna. Yeah, God. Such the infinite ocean of Krishna consciousness, so vast, where are you going to go into it? So many levels, so many Brihad Bhagavatamrita. So I'm just going to Gita, it's simple. Because the Brihad Bhagavatamrita, it's like where you go into the stories at a certain point, and it's in a context, what's come before, what comes after. So that's always the situation where in any Shastra, if you take some verses and you read them and you don't understand the context, they particular statements or things that are said or discussed are taken as absolute, but actually they're in a context also. So that has to be, that's what we call relativity in the absolute, as Tridandi Maharaj said. Yeah, so that's why it's not, so easy to understand the Shastras. So we go like that. We worship the holy books. We've got the incense, we do incense like that. Garland, so on. Chapter 7, verse. If you have your Gita there, why don't you get a Bhagavad Gita? There's plenty of them. You can get one each and just follow the verse. Yeah. I'm using Tridandi Maharaj's Gita, also Swami Maharaj Prabhupada's. There's others I have, but we're just because to see the corresponding meanings that are given there. We have in chapter 7. We're looking at verse 7. We'll just go through the verse. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Let's say this invocation. Om. Okay, we can say it together. It's in the front. Right in the front, this invocation, the Mangala Charan. We can say it together like we do the, prayers in the to the Gurus. It's right in the front, Prabhu, in the beginning, in the very beginning. Yeah.
Page 2.
Page 2. Om Bhataya Pratibodhitam Bhagavata Narayanena Swayam Vyasena Gratitam Purana Munina Madhye Mahabharate Advaitam Ritavashinim Bhagavatim Ashtadashadhyayinim Ambhaktang Anusandadhami Bhagavad Gita Bhavadbeshinim. Is there any more copies? Please give everyone one.
This is also
So we're just reciting this is the auspicious invocation Mangala Charanam that I was just saying to Prabhu that when we read or study the Shastras, it's very, very different than reading an ordinary book, like a novel or something, where you just go through it. You could speed read it, and but the Shastra actually is a form of the Lord, Bhagavat Shastra. So we say that the Lord appears in many different forms, but predominantly in terms of for ourselves, Sadhu and Shastra. So Shastra Guru and Sadhu is Guru as well. They say that the Sadhu is more active and the Shastra is more passive. So that's why the Sadhu is considered in the first position, because you can ask and he can explain and we can discuss and find out different things, whereas the Gita is passive in that sense as reading. So that's why before we read or discuss, we offer some prayers to the Shastra that to give their blessing and open up and illuminate for us the meanings on many different layers, many different levels. That's why you've already here I've got 2 Gitas editions, one by Srila Prabhupada, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Maharaj, and one by Srila Bhakti Rakshita Maharaj. So giving different levels of interpretation. So we're just on verse 2 here, if you say it, we're saying it together. Namostu te vyasa vishala buddhe fulara bindhayat patra nitra jena tvaya bharata taila purna Pajvalito Jnanamaya Pradipa Prapanna Parichataya Totta Vitraika Panaye Jnana Mudraya Krishnaya Gitamrita Duhe Namaha Saropanishado Gavo Dhogda Gopalanandana Bhato Vatsa Sudhir Bhokta Dhugdam Gitamritam Mahat Vasudeva Sutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramadanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnang Bande Jagadgurum Bhishma Drona Tata Jaya Trata Jala Gandhara Nilotpala Shalya Grahavati Kripena Bahani Karnena Velakula Ashwadhama Vikarna Ghora Makara Turyodhanavatini Suddhinna Kalu Bhandavai Rannanavi Kaivataka Keshavaha Parashajya Vachas Sarojangamalam Kitata Gandhotkatam Nana Kyanaka Kesharam Harikata Sambodhana Bodhitam Loke Sajjana Satpadair Ahar aha pepiyamanam muda bhuyad bharata pangajam kalimala pradhangshina shreyase jang brahma varunenda ruddhamarutastunvanti divyaistavayr vedai shanga padakamo panishadair gayanti yaksamagaha dhyanavashtita tadgatina Manasa pasyanti jang yogino jasyang dhangna vidhu sura suragana devaya tasmai namaha Narayanam namaskritya naram chaiva narottamam devim saraswatim vyasam tato jayam mudirayat. So perhaps we can read one translation each. I'll do the first one. Meditation on Sri Gita. This is what we just recited, the meaning. Of Bhagavad Gita, song of the Supreme Lord Himself, you are the bestower of Arjun's enlightenment. You have been woven into the scripture Mahabharata by the ancient sage Srila Vedavyasa. In 18 chapters, you are the rain of ever-flowing nectar, non-different from the Lord. O Mother, I meditate upon you. May you graciously enter my heart. Next one. Can you read it? You're okay to read in English? Oh. All right.
O Bhagavad Gita, song of the Supreme Lord Himself, you are the...
no, this is verse 2. Yeah.
O Srila Vyasadeva, of formidable intelligence, whose eyes resemble the long petals of the blooming lotus flower, and who ignited the lamp of knowledge, filled with the oil of the Mahabharata, I offer my obeisances unto you.
I offer my obeisance unto the Supreme Lord Sri Krishna, who fulfills the wishes of his surrendered devotees. He holds a divine rod in on one hand with the other is poison, in the expression of instructions, and he is the vehicle of the nectar of the Gita.
The creatures of the Vedas, or the Upanishads, are as the cow, and the milker of the cow is Lord Sri Krishna, the son of Nanda Maharaj. Arjuna is the calf, the nectar of the Gita is the milk, and the fortunate devotees are the enjoyers of that milk.
Obeisances unto Lord Sri Krishna. I bow unto the lotus feet of Sri Krishna, the son of Vasudeva, the ambassador of the demons, Kamsa and Chandra, the joy of Mother Devaki, and the universal teacher.
Yeah, it's quite long. Do you want to do it or?
Me?
Okay.
The river of the battle, Purusha. One bank is Bhishma and the other Dronacharya. Jayadratha is the water, the sons of Gandhari, the blue lotus flower, Shalya the crocodile, Kripa the waves, Karna the shore, Ashvatthama, Vikarna and company, the fearful sharks, Duryodhana the whirlpool, and Keshava is the boatman of this river of the battle that was crossed by the Pandavas.
The Mahabharata is a lotus flower. These words of Sri Krishna, Dvaipana, Vyasadeva, the son of Parashar Muni, are a perfect lotus flower. The meaning of the Gita is the beautiful fragrance of this lotus. The various episodes are its stings, and enlightening narration about the Supreme Lord are its nectar. In this world, the pure devotees are the bees who day after day delight in drinking the nectar of the lotus flower. May the Mahabharata, lotus, the vanquisher of all evils in this age of Kali, graciously bestow auspiciousness on us.
I offer my obeisances unto the Supreme Lord, whose glories are sung with celestial prayers by the gods Brahma, Varuna, Indra, Rudra and the Maruts, whose glories are sung by the verses of the Vedas, along with their 6 auxiliary books and the Upanishads, whose glories are sung by the Brahmanas that sing the Samaved, who the yogis see within their hearts absorbed in meditation, and whose infinite glories are inconceivable to all beings, whether gods or demons. Before reciting the scriptures that can conquer material existence, we offer obeisances to the Supreme Lord, who is known as Narayan, Nara and Narottam, the goddess of learning Saraswati, and the great sage empowered by the Lord to reveal the scriptures, Srila Vyasadeva. And in this edition, later on, if you have the time, you can read it. But they have the glories of Sri Gita. Is something like over 70 something verses, with many glorifications of the Gita and the benefits of reading the Gita, reciting the Gita, which is taken from some Shastra, which is it's mentioned. Oh, from the Vaishnavya Tantra Sar, and many wonderful verses. For example, a foolish person who desires liberation by constant yoga practice, right, as we have right now going on, is the Mind, Body and Spirit Festival in Alexandra Palace. We're devoted to distributing food there, vegan food, and so it's very much about yoga. There's one hall, there's two halls, and one is completely devoted to yoga of different kinds. But according to this, it says a foolish person who desires liberation by constant yoga practice, if they're even thinking that far, without hearing the wisdom of the Gita, is to be considered childish.
But I suppose one has to make a start somewhere.
Yes.
No, because many of us are children.
Hatha yoga
Yeah,
to
it's
start with.
beginning, isn't it, I suppose.
And that there's another verse, I can't find it, but it says, one who recites a verse of the Gita, half a verse, a quarter of a verse, one line or even one word of the Gita at the time of death, attains a very auspicious destination. So this is the glories of the Gita. So we're in chapter 7, verse 7 actually. Chapter 7. Let's come up like that. Again, the chapters of the Gita, 18 chapters, they're titled differently according to whose edition you're reading. Jnana Vigyan Yoga, knowledge and realization of the Supreme. So if you go to verse 7, and Bhagavan said, Mata parataram nyanyat kinchid osti dhananjaya mai sarvamidang protam sutre mani gana iva. Okay, Arjuna, okay, we got here. O conqueror of wealth, there is no truth superior to me. Everything rests upon me as pearls are strung on a thread. So it's a slightly different translation here. O Arjuna, there is nothing superior to me. All existence depends on me like gems strung on a thread. In the verse, the word is used money. Money actually means gem, not pearl specifically. But Srila Prabhupada in his wisdom has put pearls on the thread. It means like the thread running through it, you know, pearls, or like in the mala, the thread is what's keeping it, holding it together. If you take out the string, then the flowers or the gems, they just scatter. So the cohesive force of everything, spiritually and materially, is Lord Krishna. In fact, as you know, the name Krishna, there are many meanings in Sanskrit, you know, blackish and different things, but Krishna, Krish, to attract, and Na, to give. So Krishna, who attracts all to himself and gives love, gives of himself, Krishna. So this is a name of the Lord, but also in a way a description. Is considered among the many names of the Lord, which of course are infinite, because we know Lord Anantashesh, with his thousands of mouths, has been reciting since infinite before time, or outside time, better to say, and will continue chanting infinitely the names of the Lord and the glories of the Lord, and has never and can never come to the end of them. However, there are certain names which are very prominent, and these names are generally divided into two, what we may call general names or generic names. You know, like if I say tree, so that gives you a general description of the genus tree, but it doesn't tell you which tree. It could be oak tree, could be apple tree, could be aspen, could be elm, and so many. So it's a general description. Then you have your specific types of trees, and each one has their own particular qualities and specific types of fruits and flowers and benefits and so on. So similarly, the names of the Lord, the generic names would be like God, the Supreme Soul, Brahma, Paramatma, etc. Supreme Being, like that. That tells you the what you're talking about. You're not talking about a human being or any other species. You're talking about God. But not much description is in there. Then you have your specific names: Krishna, Govinda, Madhusudan, Yashodanandan, Shyamasundar, and these all describe particular qualities and aspects of the Lord which attract us. In fact, Lord Chaitanya, when he was asked by the Vedantist scholars, Mayavadis, there was a long discussion there where in Benares, which is generally the seat of the Mayavadi monks, place of Shiva, and they were saying, to Lord Chaitanya, who was a young sannyasi, 24 years of age, why are you sentimentally, dancing and singing? This isn't real spiritual life. You should be serious. Sit down, study Vedanta, and try to understand what is Brahman. Neti. It's not this, it's not this, it's not this. What is that? What is that? And this is the real thing, and this is the teaching. So, of course, Lord Chaitanya could have answered in many ways. And he approached the matter very, very cleverly. Actually, he only went to see them because he didn't like that his devotees were disturbed, that they were criticizing him, Lord Chaitanya. Prakashananda, who was the leader, is putting it about, this sentimentalist sannyasi has come to Benares from Navadip, and he's getting this following of people running after him in the street, chanting and dancing. And so devotees went to Lord Chaitanya very upset about that. So really, for their sake, he went there. He had no interest in going there, and when he went there, he sat down in the outside part, in the where you wash your feet, because it's not considered a clean place, but humbly he was sitting near that place. And Prakashananda first thing he noticed, this incredible effulgence was coming from the doorway. And he was surprised. What is this? And he looked and he saw inside there, there's this young sannyasi, 24-year-old boy, very charming and attractive. He said, no. And he went and he said, come in, don't sit there. And Lord Chaitanya said, no, you're very senior, very great personalities. And then he went and with his own hand he put Mahaprabhu in. Then a discussion was going on. So Krishnananda said that to him that way, nicely, affectionately, and Lord Chaitanya he could have answered in many ways, but he said, actually, when I went to my spiritual master, he said, you're not very intelligent. You couldn't be studying Vedanta like that. So I'm giving you this mantra, and you just chant this mantra and see what is the result. So he gave me the Hare Krishna mantra, and since I was chanting that, it had very strange effects. At first I thought I was going crazy or something, but I became filled with some strange emotions that I hadn't felt. This prema, Krishna prema, of course. In this way the discussion was going, and then it came to the point, why don't you study Vedanta like us? You are coming in our sampradaya, because as you know, Lord Chaitanya, at that time, it was, the custom to receive sannyas from a sannyasi, and Keshav Bharati Maharaj was in Navadip, but he was in the Shankara line, lineage, monistic line, Mayavadi. But for the formality of the sannyas initiation and so on, Lord Chaitanya went to him. This is all explained in the Golden Volcano, if you've read it. It's a book by Srila Sridhar Maharaj, and he retells as it's explained in Chaitanya Bhagavat, but in his own words, very, very nicely. And Lord Chaitanya, he decided to take sannyas. He didn't need to do that. Of course, he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead, but in his pastimes, his first part, he showed in his family life. And as an example of how to lead family life in Krishna consciousness. And in the morning, we sing one. It goes, Grihi Jana Shikshaka Nyashikula Nayaka. It's in the song we sing in the Mangal Arati. So Grihi Jana Shikshaka, he's the instructor of the householder devotees. And Nyashikul Nayaka. Nyashikul means, Kula means a group, clan, association of the Nasi, the renounced order. Nayaka means he's their hero or their ideal or their icon, the one they look to as the ideal of behavior. So both ways. So in his earlier life he was Gaura Narayan. He was manifesting the opulence of the Lord, more in the mood of Narayan or Vishnu, like Lakshmi Narayan. Vishnu Priya, Lakshmi Priya, his wives, consorts. And then later on, after sannyas, then his Radha Bhav began to develop and grow more and more. And in Puri, in his last 12 years, he was basically living alone. He couldn't anymore go even in society or among people, because his feelings of separation from Krishna in the mood of Radharani was so intense, so strong, that his behavior appeared to be strange and irrational to people. There was only a small group of devotees at that time he kept with him, Sarup Damodar, Ramananda Roy, one or two others. So when he left Navadvip to take sannyas, one of the reasons was, several reasons. One was he was hated by the caste brahmanas because he said Krishna consciousness is for everybody. And when he organized the kirtan at night, the nocturnal kirtan through the streets, everybody and anybody was coming out of their houses with torches and joining in that, with high caste, no caste, low caste, everybody. And Krishna consciousness is the constitution of the soul. Jiva Swarup Hoy Krishna Nityadas. Every soul is the eternal servant of the Lord. So this was hated by the caste brahmanas, who thought he was perverting the Hindu religion, where it's all very stratified and organized, and who can do what, and so forth. So, and they complained actually to the landowner, the Qazi, who was in charge. Of course, India was under the Mughal rule at that time. And the Qazi sent soldiers, and they snatched 2 mridangas and broke them in the street and said, you can't do this anymore. You have to stay in your houses, and if you do your religion, you do it privately. And they told him, Maharaj was very angry, and that's when he came out, because before that when he started the Sankirtan movement, Hare Krishna movement, it was in the house of Srivas. It was, privately, Panchatattva with Nityananda Prabhu, Advaita, Gadadhar, Srivas, and some close devotees, and they would chant inside the house. And there are many stories about that at that time, in Chaitanya Bhagavat especially. But then when that happened, he broke it out into the public, and it went viral, as we would say. And actually he made some change. Previously the mantra Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, then Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare. So he put the other way, Krishna, Hare Krishna first, then Hare Rama, and the Om, which was when chanted by the Brahmanas as a Vedic mantra, he took out the Om. So now is a mantra for everybody, universal mantra for everybody, not the property of the Vedic Brahmanas and so on. So in this way, and that was going on. Then after some time, there was opposition to him from some quarters, and also because he was in the family life, he felt that in order to make the preaching go everywhere and to be accepted by everyone, all classes of people, necessary that he should take the renounced order, not for himself, but because traditionally those of the renounced order offered respect in society, so that the people would hear and listen to his message. Whereas in Navadvip, he was the darling of the village, you know. They'd known him since he was born and grown up. He's our boy, Nimai, and like that, you know. So he left to take sannyas, and he was in a certain mood, and he just ran into the Ganges and swam across the Ganges madly, and in his wet cloth he just suddenly arrives at the ashram of Keshav Bharati, and it was like, oh, who is this? Oh, it's Nimai Pandit. And Nimai said, I've come to take sannyas from you, you know. So what could he do? Keshav Bharati, first he gave some objection. He said, but without the permission of your guardians, your mother, I can't do it. That's not. So then Nimai, he turned round and he was running off to go back there. But Keshav Bharati thought, this boy can do anything. He will just go there, charm his mother, say something, and she will agree and he'll come back. So he said, okay, never mind, you know, I'll do it, you know. But gradually a crowd was building up, and the people, they were shocked, horrified. Why he will do that? Why he will suddenly leave us in this way, you know? He was their all in all, you know. Just like Krishna in Gokul was, Srila Prabhupada writes in the Krishna book, the cynosure of all eyes, you know, it means they couldn't imagine, you know, life without him. Then here he is going to take sannyas, and then there's the ceremony of the shaving of the head, and his beautiful long hair was falling to the ground, and people were like fainting in shock, you know, and crying, and the crowd was growing and growing, and even the people, some of them were becoming unruly and saying to Keshav Bharati, if you give sannyas to Nimai, we'll smash your ashram, you know. And they started to like pull up the plants and knock the wall down and things like that. So it was, you know, quite an amazing scene. And anyway, and even the barber, he was starting to shave the head, and he said, I can't do it, you know, it's not possible. But somehow the people said, no, you have to do it. So he did it, but then he took a vow. He said, after this, I will never shave another with this hand. And he became a sweet maker in the town in Navadvip after that. And when he was half shaved, then Lord Chaitanya, Nimai Pandit, he stood up and began dancing Hare Krishna ecstatically. And gradually, it was done. And then the time came to give the mantra, and this sannyas mantra. So then, Lord Chaitanya, being the omniscient Supreme Personality of Godhead and the super soul of all living beings, he knew the mantra, of course. The mantra comes from him. Vedaischa sarvam aham eva vedya vedanta krit veda vid eva chaham in Gita, where Krishna says, all the Vedas that come from me, and the purpose is to know me. So Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, he's the source of the Vedas and the Vedic knowledge. So he, when Keshav Bharati, as the formality of the Diksha, initiation, he went to tell the mantra in the ear of Lord Chaitanya. Before he could do it, Lord Chaitanya said, oh, is this the mantra you'll give me? I heard it last night in a dream. And he whispered the mantra into the ear of Keshav Bharati. And he was surprised. And then, you know, as a formality, Keshav Bharati gave him the mantra. But this has some meaning, that some people say that in this way Lord Chaitanya initiated Keshav Bharati, made him into be a Vaishnava from a Mayavadi by giving him this mantra, and like that. And so then gradually that was finished and done, and then he left Navadvip, and he went, there's many pastimes after that.
Maharaj?
Yeah.
Very interesting. How would you define Hinduism and the Vaishnavas? Because externally it can appear quite similar for some people. And how would we divide these two?
Yeah. Because we say, you know, Sanatan Dharma is the Dharma of every soul, every jiva soul. You know, and that's the thing, you know. The love of Krishna is Nitya-Siddha Krishna Prem Sabhakabhuhai is eternally existing in the heart of every jiva soul, because the Lord is there. So that is the relationship, eternal relationship with the Lord. So that's not really Hinduism, you know. I mean, I never think of myself as a Hindu. Some said, "Oh, you've converted to Hindu." Pardon? No, you know, not like Hindus, born Hindu, where you're brought up with all these things. So, and even at one time in Mauritius, they made a book, and because it's a lot Hindu community there, of course, and the person who in charge of the temple, he made this book, and he called the title of the book Hindu Dharma. And then Srila Govinda Maharaj said, "No, you have to change it. It's not Hindu Dharma, it's Sanatan Dharma." So, but in another way, yes, of course, they're inextricably linked. It's like saying, is God Indian? Is Krishna Indian? No, but he appeared in India and in and through the Indian culture. So we can say Indian culture, is the original culture and is most closely connected, the closest relation to the spiritual culture of the spiritual world, So you have a Gokul, Krishna lived in Gokul in Vrindavan in India, and then Golok, the original, as in the spiritual world, planet of Krishna, and one is like a facsimile of the other, in Krishna's pastimes on earth, 5,000 years ago. And there's a very interesting commentary by Srila Jiva Goswami on some verses of Brahma Samhita, where he's discussing the relation between Gokul and Golok. And though we say Gokul on earth, Bhumi Vrindavan, so-called earthly Vrindavan, is a facsimile of the original Golok. He gives some argument to say, actually in another way it can be said that Gokul is the original. How that is very inconceivable, Krishna's pastimes. But there is some difference in the pastimes. Like we don't have the Asura killing in Golok. There's no Asuras there. That's here on the earth. In Gita, where Krishna says, Yada yada hita mishaglanir bhavati bharata, whenever there's a discrepancy and spirituality is suppressed, materialism is very prominent, I appear to protect the devotees and to vanquish the demons. Yeah, but that's here, that's not there. Why would there be demons in the spiritual world, actually? And this is probably, you pick up the book or put it on the table. Thank you. Yeah. So there is some difference like that, and the pastimes with the gopis, Krishna apparently stealing those who are married girls in Vrindavan, because they're all young, they're like 14, 15, 16, but they're married already, as was the custom. So they're going to dance with Krishna in the dead of night and so on. But that's in the Bhumi Vrindavan Leela, etc. So there's lots of subtle things, but no, we're not Hindus anyway, in that way.
Isn't the word Hindu a foreign word anyway? It's not an
apparently, yes,
word.
yes.
It's supposed to be, I think Indians are the only, I was saying to my family, because I'm born in an Indian family,
Yes.
that surely we are the only religion where we call ourselves by a name given to us by foreigners, because
Yes.
Christians call themselves Christians,
Yes.
Muslims say they are Muslims.
Yeah.
Hindu is not a Sanskrit word.
No.
I believe that Iranians, also a different community,
Yeah.
people living, it's a geographical term, isn't it? People living north of the Indus River.
Yeah,
and they couldn't pronounce the word Sindhu, so they said Hindu.
Yeah, Hindu.
So we now all call ourselves
Yeah.
Hindus, but Hindu is not
Yeah.
a Hindu word.
That's right.
So
So
in
what?
fact, as you say rightly, Sanatan Dharma is the correct
Yeah.
word.
So what would you call yourselves then if you're
Well,
not Hindu?
Now that I'm much later in life discovered this extraordinary fact,
Yeah.
the word Hindu is not even a Sanskrit word, I would say that I'm a follower of Sanatan Dharma.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
The ancient word which has existed forever in the Indian subcontinent.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I suppose Hindu is easier. It's a bit shorter.
People don't know.
A follower of Sanatan Dharma. They go, what?
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
Most Indians have no idea that the word Hindu is actually
That's right, yeah.
not even a Hindu word.
Mm.
It's quite alarming.
Yeah, and So where were we?
Such things as Durga worshipping can be considered as part of Hinduism, but it is not necessarily related to Sanatana Dharma, because the purpose of Durga worship is acquiring any material benefits, but Sanatana Dharma has nothing to do with spiritual.
It depends. There's a whole tradition of Shakti worship, and if you ask them, they will say that after you attain liberation, so they will say the same words that you say,
Yes.
but they are worshipping the same power, the same love that you may have for Krishna, they will have for Durga. And it's not, they all say the same thing, that the purpose of life is to attain the highest spiritual goal, but they see their concept of God, as you say, there are many different names, their concept of God is like a feminine, Durga aspect. So it's just a very broad term, isn't it? It just describes everything that happens in the subconscious. And there are Shakta worshippers.
Even Charvak could be Hindu.
Vaishnava worshippers. There are many different strands.
Charak Muni, who's an atheist, so-called.
Even Charvak could be Hindu, yeah.
Yes. So it incorporates every aspect. You have your Sad Darshan, your six philosophical theses, Karma Mimamsa, and your Buddhism, and your Jaimini, and then Patanjali's yoga, and like that, yeah. So these are all aspects. And regarding the Shakti worship, that's, from a Vaishnava point of view, we say, like even the gopis worshipping Katyayani as Durga, but they're worshipping to get Krishna as their husband, you see. They're not worshipping. The thing is, not that the other devatas, to see them as separate or independent gods. The first offence against the holy name, when we take initiation, there's 10 offences, right? Probably from the Padma Purana, these are listed. And the first one is to think that the name of Krishna is on the same level as the name of any other gods, or that the names of the demigods are equal to or independent of the name of Krishna, right? So
I think the Shakta people would say that God with a capital G, for them would be either the three main strands are, isn't it, Shiva, or Krishna and Durga. But the demigods, I think they see, so all of these people in three traditions, the Indra, Varuna, Agni, all of these would be the demigods.
Yeah, that's right,
But I think they would put Durga and Indra in the same.
So we're very fortunate. That's why you have, on the one side, you have, like we said, Bharate Bhumite Manushya Janmajar. The Lord Chaitanya said that those who have birth in India are very fortunate. It's a very auspicious birth, and because it gives the opportunity, because of the culture, the background of the culture, Vedic culture, let's call it, there's already that in genetic sort of background and tendency, theistic kind of a tendency, which is very helpful and very auspicious. Now, whether a person born in India utilizes that or not, is another question. So on the one side, that's helpful and auspicious, but whereas as compared to, Westerners, ourselves, we didn't have any background in Vedic culture. On the other hand, it can also be a disadvantage, because those who are born in India who haven't had a clear line of thought, of understanding from a real guru, Vaishnava guru, they have a hodgepodge of ideas. Everything's the same. Indra, Krishna, Shiva, doesn't matter who you worship, it's all the same. All goes to the same thing and the same point in the end. And that's wrong, that's incorrect, So I'm not saying it is, but in the family traditions where people are brought up, hearing all these stories about the gods and so forth, could be not a very clear idea, whereas in the West we could say, well, at least we had a clean slate, we didn't know anything about this. So when our teacher came and said, it's like this and this and this, Bhagavad Gita as it is, well, it's very clear, So both sides have advantage or not. So, and the pride of caste is definitely a big. That's a big disqualification, Yeah, it really is, because even Jesus said, it's more difficult for a camel to pass through the eye of a needle than a rich man to enter the kingdom. Rich doesn't necessarily mean, rich in wealth in terms of money, but who has full up with knowledge or think they have a lot of knowledge and background of knowledge. So essentially, like humility. Srila Govinda Maharaj, he always used to say, actually, this is our religion, apart from, the teachings, Gita, Bhagavatam, and the systematic. He said, what Mahaprabhu said, Trinada Pisanichina, be more humble than the straw in the street, more tolerant than a tree, offer respects to all, don't expect respect for yourself. This is our religion, actually. So if we can follow that, and from that through that, or from that foundation, then we study all the different things and so on. But that has to be the foundation. Otherwise, how can we ever get Sharanagati, surrender to the Lord, which is... Because in that verse, Mahaprabhu said, the last line is, Kirtaniya Sadahari, that one can constantly chant the holy name of the Lord if one is doing that. Right? So one may be chanting and chanting a lot, but not getting the result of the pure holy name, because there's a blockage because of that, not because of lack of humility, tolerance, offering respect, or wanting respect, like that. These are the very foundational things, fundamental things. It's not just about reading something and then parroting that, Oh, I read somewhere that this some story or this some philosophy. It's much more than that. It's like so we have to go to the root, to the core values, and go back and return again and again. That's why today, the plan was to read the Gita. We haven't quite got there, but the teachings, basic teachings of Lord Krishna. Although I was coming to that, was from the point then we got on about the Lord Chaitanya and the sannyas thing. It's 1:30. They have the offering, is it? Well, arti. So anyway, any other questions about anything, or related topics? Doesn't have to be about. So
there is a difference between obviously.
Yeah.
And as it is.
Yeah, there's many editions of Gita. Everyone who's anyone has sort of done a translation commentary. But as we know in the Gita, because all the yogas are described, like a pyramid. So inside that structure, there's everything, and that's through the chapters: Karma Yoga, then Jnana Yoga, right? Then Ashtanga Yoga, Dhyana Yoga, Abhyasa Yoga, finally to Bhakti Yoga. So who is proponents of any particular path, karma path or jnana path, they will stress those aspects or those verses and give commentary like that and say this is the meaning of Gita. But if we can have a objective view as much as possible, what's called tatashta vichar, to be from the neutral point and look at the whole of the Gita, it's very clear that what Krishna is saying, devotion to me, bhakti yoga, is the ultimate, the end point and the pinnacle of all yogas. If they don't come to that, they haven't come to their fruit, their fruition. Because in the 6th chapter, Jnana Yoga, yoga of meditation, in the last verse, he's talking about a yogi, who is a yogi. And so the yogi, one who's actually directly linking with the Lord, is better than the ascetic, better than the empiricist. That means somebody, the jnani who's trying to figure out what is the absolute truth through analysis. And he says, and then in the very last verse, Jogi mam api sarvesham madkiten antaratmana shraddhavam bhajate yomam same yukta mato mataha. Of all yogis, the best is he who worships me with deep faith and chants my glories, and in this way is united with me. This is my opinion. So that's pretty clear. to me. But because the Gita is the song of God and it's for all people, therefore it includes every approach to the Supreme that is there in their gist, in their essence. And in the Vedas, there are sections that deal with all these yogas: Karma Kanda, Jnana Kanda, and Upasana Kanda. So that's the Catholicity of the Vedic knowledge, that it caters for every person at every stage, whatever particular stage they may be at. But by the same token, it can also be confusing unless one has proper direction. So, in the Kali Purana it says, you can drink wine, eat meat, So those proponents of that would say, just see, it says, but that is for a particular person at a particular level. It's not like an absolute for all time, for everyone. If someone is addicted, for example, to meat eating, then better they restrict themselves. They have some discipline whereby they can eat meat at a certain time, and they have to do with certain prayers. It's never cow, of course, but goat meat and so forth. But so it's truth. Truth is given by installments. When the soul is ready for the next higher revelation, then it'll come. They say, when the disciple's ready, the master will appear. Or when the disciple is ready, the knowledge will appear. And a suitable teacher for that level as well. So, relative and absolute. Yeah.
And the person who hasn't made a choice yet, based on what he have to choose where to start from, would it mean certain conception would become more appealing to him, or based on common sense, or because it's all just ideas.
Generally, it's to do with the awakenment of the soul. So as I was going to read originally the Brihat Bhagavatamritam today, but the different levels and conceptions in spiritual life, how it goes through a process where the soul goes through development of what Sridhar Maharaj has called selection and elimination, which means at a certain point where you are with your understanding and realization, which is giving satisfaction and fulfillment to you, that will become dry and stale and tasteless. It'll lose its appeal. Your heart will be hankering for some more higher, more deeper. Then at that time your search will continue, and then the new higher revelation will come, and you'll be able to connect with that and then leave your previous, just like the caterpillar is on one branch. There he's having his food and everything. Then that's losing. Then he's looking. Then he's up there. Then if you can catch onto that one, when he gets some firm attachment there, then he can pull himself up. Go up, and then he's there. Then he's there, and he's living there, and he's getting the nourishment. After some time, there must be more. What's more? Then, there it's coming. Then, like this way, we say selection and elimination, and this is going on, and it's eternal. It's in the relative stage in ourself in the material world, between our birth and death, but that continues after death. It continues in the spiritual world as well. So we know in the spiritual world the gradation of depth and intensity of reciprocal loving relationship with the Lord. So you have your 5 relationships, Shanta, Dasya, Sakya, Vatsalya, Madhurya. So each one, it includes but transcends the previous one. So every time there's a development, it's not like you leave the previous one in the sense of it, you know, it's gone, it's thrown away, it's not there anymore. It's still there, and you're building on that. It's an organic development, just like you have, you know, in nature, an organism is made of cells, and cells are composed of, you know, molecules, and molecules are made of atoms. So you have your atom, then your molecule, then your cell, then your organism. So it's intrinsic. So each stage is built on the previous one, but something more than that. So the same in the spiritual world, because the material world we know is a reflection of that, perverted. Perverted means, I prefer to say, inverted. So it's like the down is up and the up is down. Yeah. So the highest point, generally the highest point of the soul's reach in the material world, like in the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita, through meditation, attainment of samadhi, complete equanimity, complete quote-unquote oneness with everything, right? So that stage, materially, is the highest. You're coming to the border, the Tatashta, where all the material differences and variety is eliminated, and you're coming to this neutral stage of oneness. But that is called Shanta, and Shanta Rasa is the foundation of the higher rasas in the spiritual. That's just the beginning. So from there, it's only from there you can go to Dasya Rasa, to actually serve the Lord. So in the beginning, realization by oneness with everything, and then in the 7th chapter that we were going to read, Krishna says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, Jnanavamam Prapadyate, Vasudev Sarvamiti Sa Mahatma Sudurlabha. He says, Bahunam Janmanam Ante, after many births of cultivation of spiritual life, Bahunam Janmante Jnanavam, the Jnani means, we're talking an accomplished spiritualist, you know, who is totally living in the spiritual understanding of themselves as soul, knows they're not the body and not, yeah. Jnanavam mam prapadyate. He comes to understand me, Vasudev, the personal Lord, God, Sarvamiti. I am the source of everything and the substance of everything. It is me, personal, Krishna is saying. Vasudev Sarvamiti. It's not just impersonal, but inside that is the personal, the source from where everything is emanating. Samahatma Sadurlabha. Such a great soul is very rare. So actually, to come to Krishna consciousness, if you think there's so many, like again, if you go the mind, body, and spirit, there's many different conceptions. But does someone just have Shraddha, faith in Krishna? I mean, as the Supreme Lord, not as a Hindu god. That's something else. But as the Supreme Lord, as the one from whom we've come and to whom we should surrender and to whom we're going to go back to, that Shraddha, faith, is extremely rare. So devotees of any kind, whatever mission or whatever background, wherever, their faith in Krishna, this is very rare in this world. I mean, I saw a video recently, and these 3 people, they decided to make a video and interview different spiritual teachers, right? You know, it's interesting on different levels talking about different things, but then they threw out this not trick question, this question that they hadn't said they were going to ask, and they just did it. Said, can you describe God? You know, not one of them could say anything. It was all like, it's infinite, inconceivable, we don't know, it's the source, etc., etc. You ask any devotee, the most neophyte devotee, comes in the line of Christian consciousness, they'll say, yeah, he's a 15 to 16-year-old boy in the bloom of youth, plays a flute, has a peacock feather on his head. You can quote from Brahma Samhita or somewhere. Then they asked Sadhguru. You know Sadhguru? His name is called Sadhguru Jagi Vasudev, yeah. So they asked him and this question, and at first he said, I was wondering, I wonder how he's going to answer, because I think he's quite good. You know, his teachings are very about life in general and yoga, but he avoids saying anything too much about God specifically or anything. But at first he said, what? I didn't catch you. And like 3 or 4 times he said that. And first I thought, is he avoiding the question? But I think he actually couldn't understand what he was saying, because the interviewer was American. He was saying, can you describe God? And I think he wasn't getting it, that's all, you know. So finally he got it, and he said, oh, can I describe God? He said, yes. And then he was a pause, and he kind of laughed, you know, ah, ha, ha. And I thought, oh, what's he going to say, is he? And he gave some, I can't remember what he said, but it... And I thought, but then my friend told me in Sweden, he had seen a clip with him, and in this clip, somehow the talk came about Krishna, was mentioned, and he was talking something about Krishna, and even Radharani. And when he was saying about Radharani, he started to get emotional, like tear up, you know. So these people, they know about this, you know. But they don't say it, they don't teach it. Maybe they think it's too high, or it can't be
It doesn't sell.
said, it doesn't sell.
Yeah, it is not going to sell.
Yeah.
So he tries to give a very, I've seen his videos, he gives a very secular look, because
Yeah.
he's approaching a lot of his people, you know, Western followers.
Yeah.
He's huge in the West, you know, quite huge in the West. So if you, as soon as you put something labeled like God or
Yeah.
religious,
Yeah.
you know, people will just start dropping off, because what he talks about is, you know, like self-development,
Yeah,
like
that's
how
right.
you can become a better person.
Yes.
And that's his starting point.
Yes, yes.
Whereas our starting point is completely
Yeah.
opposite.
Also, I heard that the Maharishi Yogi, when he was alive, that when he was teaching his TM people, the people who teach it, well, he taught them how to teach it, but when he was teaching them, he said to some of them, one of them or some of them, but he said, oh, I'm giving this is something general, but if you want to know about the real truth, go to Bhaktivedanta Swami. He's teaching. So yeah.
He's based on what I've read. All of these different gurus, it seems that while they, like you said, they all offer a very, you know, sort of Catholic view.
Yes.
Different temperaments. They all seem to say that the path of Bhakti is the most effective path. Whether you call them a Maya Bhakti or a Vaishnava, all of them appear on some level. Somewhere in their books, the teachers seem to say that if you ask them, is there anything better than the path of Bhakti? Very few will say there's anything better than that. They do say it's the most beautiful.
Yes. Of course, I mean, you know, love, devotion, surrender, dedication, we know intrinsically, intuitively, that this is the real thing, you know. And in fact, all the yoga paths, karma, jnana, without bhakti, without an element of bhakti, they can't be successful. You have to be devoted to what you're following, right, to get the result. So that is natural, you know, to serve, to love. It's the most fundamental. If you would see all the other paths like karma, jnana, they're all useful for the time being. But the only thing that's actually substantially, intrinsically, constitutionally, in our essence as soul, is bhakti, is devotion, is love, you know. So that, if you have that, then other things, you know, they can help for the time being and give some. For example, we study different books and different scriptures, which is, you could call it gyan, but insofar as it's in relationship to Krishna consciousness, and the idea being that to increase our, you know, it's like saying, if you want to love someone, you've got to know something about them, right? So if I say to you, oh, I met this person, he's fantastic, and you say, oh, that's interesting, where do they live? Oh, I don't know. No one really knows. What's their name? You know, well, what do they do? And what do they look like? We go, oh, what's the point? So, as Prabhupada says, we tell you who is God, what is his address, what is his name, who are his friends, what are his activities. You know, I'm not saying that, you know, facetiously or in any way, but it's so all these things, like there's an example given, Sridhar Maharaj in one talk he was giving, he was saying that this knowledge is called Sambandha Gyan. It's Gyan, but it's Sambandha Gyan, means about our relationship, who we are in relationship to the Lord, to Krishna. So in that way it's helpful, it's nourishing, and actually essential in the beginning. Because if we try to jump into some practice, even chanting Hare Krishna, etc., without the Sambandha Gyan foundation, then it's not, in later on, we'll go wrong. We'll go into Sahajism or Mayavad, you know, that this foundation must be there. The Lord and his energies, Krishna, then what are his energies? His superior energy, the expansion of the different avatars, incarnations, and etc. Then and the spiritual world, etc. Then the so-called inferior energy or material energy, Chaya Shakti, shadow potency of the material world, and then the marginal potency, the jiva souls that come from this point in the middle. They're spiritual by nature, but they're on the verge, situated on the verge between the material and the spiritual. So spiritual by nature, but because, as manifested from this particular Shakti, marginal potency, Tatashta Shakti as it's called, having the tendency, adaptability to go that side or this side. So the three energies, superior, inferior and marginal. Then how are they related? You know, how is the relation between the Lord and the Maya Shakti, the Lord and the Jiva Shakti, and etc. It's Sambandha Gyan. So not that someone's chanting Hare Krishna and they're, you know, absorbed in that, and someone says, oh, there's a great Mahatma has come, you know, he's giving a talk about Krishna consciousness. No, don't disturb me, that's Gyan, you know, I'm chanting Hare Krishna. No, you see? Point. Yeah. So, that's important. Kaviraj Goswami says it's essential for neophyte devotees to have this knowledge. It doesn't mean you have to be a scholar or a jnani, but it's part and parcel of what we do. You know, that's why we have classes and the things, all of those things.
Can I just ask one
Yeah.
question? In this world today, it's all about division, it seems to me. I think people are dividing on so many different things, including within religion. Within each religion you have so many sects,
Yes.
and so many different, and they're all, maybe in this age of Kali, lots of conflict.
Yes.
So, and in a way, sometimes it feels like in the midst of all this conflict, the essence of this religion seems to be forgotten, which is to realize the person and attain a state of devotion. So, do you feel that someone who, for example, if they've never heard of any, they're not part of any organized religion, for example, very good human being, and say that they have just sort of devotion for God, and whatever the concept of God is, would you say that they go far in the spiritual world?
Yes, it's like saying, what if a very good Christian, someone who's extremely dedicated and devoted, you know, has actual love, has developed, you know, bhava, you know, for their Lord, you know, Jesus, etc. And a Hindu or a person who's just born in it and isn't really devoted, you know, just kind of goes along with, you know, so who's better? So from we say who has the devotion and the surrender, they're better. But you can also say that the person, the Hindu person, in a way, again, because of the birth and because of the connection to Krishna, somehow, however indirectly, that is also a great thing, you know.
Because surely someone, say, born in the West who's never heard of Krishna, but who is a very, there's a book actually by an anonymous Russian man from about 150 years ago called The Way of the
Pilgrim, yes.
Yeah, so it's amazing. In that book, when I read it, I was really amazed.
The Jesus prayer, yes.
Yeah, so he very sincerely wants to know how to pray all the time.
Yeah.
And then, as you know, he begins to repeat the Jesus prayer, and then he says the prayer begins to repeat itself.
Yeah.
In the way of the experience of many yogis, that if you repeat it on too many times, it begins to repeat itself.
Yeah.
So, and he seemed to me to be a very devotional man. So he didn't mention anything in the book obviously about Krishna.
Of course,
so I didn't find it hard to believe that he wouldn't attain the same stage of any devotee of Krishna also. You
see, the stage, as Krishna says, ye yatamam prapadyante tam tataiva bhajamyaham. As you approach me, so I reciprocate. So yes, you know, Krishna, directly or indirectly, through other saints, sages, prophets, other faith traditions, you know, and it's where there is real devotion and surrender, we do appreciate that, you know, like particularly, and we can learn from that also, you know, because there's a very rich tradition in other faith traditions of bhakti in that line, you know, and
Sufis, I mean, in the office I was talking to the very devout, my colleague, it's next to me. So we're just having this conversation, and I said, and I said to him, we were talking about some incident happening and saying, look, how cruel people are, you know, the so-called Muslims, and you know what they're doing in the name of the religion, etc. But then I said to him, the thing is, you see, where we come from, if you're touched by God, you just cannot have hate. There is no, if you're really, really touched by God, you know, in here, you will not even think of even hurting an ant, forget about killing somebody. So that's how it changes you. And then he agreed, and then in the end he still says, oh, I mean, so that's why I differ in, like people say, when they're all the same, because I don't think they're all the same. Because their conception of God is so different to ours. And then when we say that, when you touched by love, pure love, you will be nothing else. It's so potent, it's so powerful. How can you be something else? You know, and there is, no, that's fine. We have such devotion for Allah and everything else. But then, you might be the most wonderful person, you know, doing everything. You don't deserve heaven still, and it's because you still have to. But you still have to.
But even within Islam.
Yeah, you're not going to heaven according to them. You know, so what I'm trying to say, like, I think if we impose our lens on them, you know, our drishti, where we are looking at from Vaishnava point of view, we say, no worries. Fine, you're one step little, fine, you'll slowly come up. But when they look at us, it's a completely different drishti.
This is a Kali-yuga thing.
Of course, you see, beg pardon, you see through the lens you have, you know.
The lens is so different.
Perception.
So the really fascinating thing, what amazes me, is how it is possible for within Islam there's such a variety, and the Sufi tradition, it's amazing that the poetry of the Sufi poets is not different from Mirabai, you know, rather than Mirabai. So Mirabai, of course, is a great devotee of Krishna. So it's weird how someone who had no contact with yoga or Christianity, but the Christian mystics who are equally devoted as Islam. So I don't know,
Again, the Sufism, they can talk about it, but then again, there's a bit of a gentler version of softer version, same thing.
But they have the Madhurya of Maharaj. They see God as.
But you cannot. Yeah, the biggest thing is you understand that to be so-called. Sorry, I know we're going off the topic here, but you have to accept Prophet Muhammad. You can become Muslim. Without that, you are not.
The Sufis don't insist. I think.
No, they do.
If God exists in the hearts of all beings, including all of us in this room, then the fact is that somewhere, I think God is a bit of obviously a miracle worker. Even someone who's got no organized religion, who doesn't know anything, who, somehow or the other, if the grace of God is upon them, they will find a way to be really sincere.
The Sufis' only thing is maybe they do not put so much stress on it. For example, they might just say, "So I ignore this fact." But to be honest, in theology, you have to be a Muslim. You have to follow.
I don't know about that actually. I understand where you're coming from, but I don't know. When you read Rumi, you know,
Rumi is wonderful. I read Rumi.
I mean, he
sounds like a Vaishnava.
When he died, you know, in Konya, the whole city came out to his funeral. You know, the Jews, you know, Arabs, you know, Christians, everyone. You know, because he was just he's in love with God. You know, he's not saying God is Krishna like that, but.
True, I agree. All real lovers of God, from whichever religion, I think they belong to a class by themselves. You know?
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. But
if you ask the real, the so-called the Muslim, they don't think Sufi is a real.
No, that's right. That's right.
But
they say Muhammad is the seal of the prophets. He's the last. There's no other revelation after him.
The Hindu Brahmin who says, I alone have the right to read
Yeah,
the Vedas.
same.
You have it everywhere.
No difference.
Well, he hasn't read the scriptures then.
They haven't read the scripture, but the same thing, you can argue the same for the Sunni Muslim. He also doesn't really believe in it.
Yeah. Let me see if I've got that book there. Yeah, so it's best to try to see the commonality between us and focus on that, yeah. We've talked about it many times, but in our line, in our Sampradaya, you have both these aspects in different teachers, you know, like the more relative one and the more absolute one. For example, Bhaktivinoda Thakur, in his Gitavali, his one verse, he says, "Oh, Bhai," he's talking to his Bengali, he says, "Oh, brothers, why do you hate the way God is worshipped by others? Some worship him in an untidy or careless manner, some by kneeling, some with their hands held in front, some by offering so many prayers, some by different yoga postures, but all of them are only worshipping the darling son of Nanda, you know, Krishna of Gokul," like that. So that then his son and disciple in the Sampradaya, Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, different, you know, very different, saying, leave everything. All other conceptions of religion, saying the Gaudiya Mat has come to declare war, not just against Maya, but all other existing conceptions of religion. Leave everything, come to Mahaprabhu. It's the only way. The way, the truth, and the life. There's no other way. That's very, you know, and so then it was both things, you know, and Srila Prabhupada, I think, who started ISKCON in the West, he bit of both, you know.
I suppose
Bit of both, you know.
Comes at the right time for the right
Yeah.
deliver a message which is needed at that time.
And also talking to different people, you know. Some, if you know, sometimes that the more absolute view can be given. If someone has a deeper understanding, you know, when you speak to people, the idea is to speak like half a semitone higher, you know, so they can come up. You know, if you give too much, they'll be like, it's like putting so much ghee on the fire, it would kill it. You put a little bit, then it will come up. So some people, yeah, they need to be, as we say, you know, given a bit more of the sort of the hammer, you know, just to shake them out, you know. You know, if you feel, you realise actually they're intelligent enough to know more, to come to our, and they're just sticking with something because of obstinacy or something, then you can be more. But others, you have to be very gentle, you know. No, it's very good. Just worship your Jesus, you know, and give your full love to him, and then, you know, like this.
I mean, for them, you know, for us, for them, when I speak to, especially the Abrahamic, you know, conversations, is for them when they look at us. You know, us,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
you know, the dharmic traditions,
Yeah.
we are absolutely aliens to them because they just think we are really, really, they just are not trained to grasp. Like, for example, you know, we say God, Guru, you know, becomes like a God manifests himself.
Oh, yeah.
They cannot imagine that because that's a shirk.
But you know,
In Islam, it's a shirk.
But,
Yeah.
but you're absolutely right. But
They
the
cannot
point
grasp
is surely, because like you said, Maharaj said, we're all evolving. We're all evolving, and I think that we're all where God wants us to be. So even a person who thinks like that is thinking like that, and God exists in them. So God will look after them. They are meant to evolve in their own way. We are meant to.
But yeah, I would say, yeah, you're right. But what I would say is, I don't think we are the same. I think there's a huge difference.
You're right.
And the way
That is true.
that is true. And the big difference.
Yeah, that point is very is a kind of is a really sticking point, you know, about Allah, you know, and Allah's say, oh, Allah is God, but he's not a person. What do you mean? See, no person that's a human. Speaking to someone yesterday, person means human.
So for them, Chaitanya cannot be a God for them.
So how can you have a relationship with someone who's not a person? Allah, you know. They don't consider it in terms of a relationship, though, at all, actually. It's like you just follow obediently the rules, and that's the relationship.
But then when you start moving into a kind of bhakti attitude, say, you know, they not use the word bhakti, But I have some friends from Muslim backgrounds who have, one of them is a daughter of an imam, is a doctor. So she was saying, I was quite struck by what she said.
Oh.
She spoke like someone who, similar words, that's the weirdest thing.
Right.
We're all from 7.6 billion people on this planet, different shapes, sizes, colours and backgrounds, and different traditions, but sometimes you can really reach, I think you can still reach a state of devotion even without having had any formal training or teaching or from a different tradition.
Yeah.
Anyway, they have this thing called surrender to the will of God, which every religion has. So she was saying to me once, it's something that she wanted something, but she said, Allah, only if, so many of us go to God, in a temple or a church or a mosque with a list of things, give me this, give me this, give me this, I want this, it's like a shopping list. So she said, she wanted something very badly in her life, but she said to God, only if you think about if it is good for me. If it is not good for me, let me not have it, even though she wanted it very badly.
Yeah.
So I was quite impressed. I thought, wow, you're yes, the person who's surrendering to the will of God. You call God Allah. You say, Allah, thy will be done.
Yeah.
I would say that's pretty...
Yeah, so that is good. So the elements are there, definitely. The thing is that to try to see and understand that, that devotion and service is intrinsic to the soul, and that's the thing. Like Srila Prabhupada said, if, like the President of America, no names mentioned, but, you think they're in charge, right? But actually they're serving the people. Really, that's their function. Supposedly they're, democratically elected, right? So they have to serve the people. And he said, and if someone doesn't have any family or friends or anything, nobody to serve, they get some dog or cat. You see the people in the street, right? They're completely alone. They have a dog, and they serve that. It's just totally natural. No man is an island. Where you want to have, relationship. It's because why? Because we are organically, we're part of the whole, and the relationship is there. It's there. You can't. The river must always go towards the sea. Must flow always towards the sea, to the union. To the relationship. So it manifests in different ways in different religions, and they think you can't have a relationship with Allah because He's not a person. And it's sacrilegious to even say, in the Christian say to Father, Abba. Jesus said Abba. Abba is a very affectionate. It's not so much father. It's like Papa. It's very close, as different from the Old Testament Yahweh. It's a very distant kind of Yahweh. He's a wrathful sort of God who's basically judging everything, and He changed that. And so, but even that is to them is, they're not sons. How can God doesn't have sons? Because He's not a person. You can't call Him a father. It's like making Him like a human. So that's but yet it probably manifests in other ways in their relationship with each other, or their, there's something there, when they all go down like that, in the mosque. It's something, it's some distant tinge or hint of the thing, I mean, Bhakti.
Definitely.
Definitely.
As you said, that's inherent, isn't it?
Yeah, it's inherent, yeah.
Inherent. So it's in all of us, basically.
Maharaj, is today Madhvacharya's appearance day?
I don't know, is it? Is it on the calendar? I haven't looked actually.
I thought it was today, but maybe it's tomorrow. I had a question regarding him.
Yeah.
But it might open up a whole other...
Yeah, of course. Because I was reading there's a book called the Gaur Ganadesh Dipika, and one of the verses is by Kavi Karnapur. And Kavi Karnapur, as you know, was the son of Shivananda Sen, who was very close or dear to Mahaprabhu, Lord Chaitanya. In fact, Lord Chaitanya said, the whole family of Shivananda Sen is very dear to me. Even a dog from his village is very dear to me, And so he had 3 sons, and the youngest one, his actual name was Paramananda Das, but he was also known as Puri Das because he met Mahaprabhu in Puri, and when he was a small boy, at the house of his father, Shivananda Sen, this Paramananda, he sucked on the toe of Mahaprabhu and composed a verse when he was 7 or something, incredible verse. So Mahaprabhu gave the name Kavi Karnapur. And later on, when he was grown up, he wrote many books, famous books like one is the life of Lord Chaitanya, Chaitanya Chandrodaya Natak. It's a play about drama, Lord Chaitanya's life. Ananda Vrindavan Champu, again a very famous verse, pastimes of Krishna in Vrindavan, and Keshavashtakam, and this is called Chaitanya Sahasranam, like this. But one very famous book it's called Gaura Ganadesha Deepika. And what it is, he's discovered who is in the Krishna Leela and Chaitanya Leela. Yeah, the personalities, all the associates of Lord Chaitanya, who they were, I'm using past tense, were, it's eternal, in Vrindavan, correspondingly. So, obviously you'll have like Pundarik Vidyanidhi was Vrishabhanu, was the father of Radharani, Gadadhar Pandit Radharani, etc. Why am I saying this? What was the point you made? Oh yeah. So he says, there's one verse there where he says, he quotes from the Padma Purana, saying in Kali Yuga there are 4 Vaishnava Sampradayas which purify the whole world. There's Shri, Brahma, Rudra and Sanuk, as we know. So, as you say, that's their differences is a whole other subject. But essentially they're all Vaishnavas, and they all believe that we have a relationship with the Lord, therefore the Jiva soul is in some way similar to the Lord but also different, not absolutely one. They all refute Shankara's idea of Kevala Advaita. There's an absolute monistic oneness. But the oneness and the difference is slightly different how they express it in each of the Sampradayas. Yeah, so some slightly more stressing the oneness, some slightly more the difference. And then Mahaprabhu, his Achincha Beda Beda Siddhanta, that is said to synthesize them all, that the Jiva soul and the Lord are simultaneously and inconceivably, he put that word, added that word, some you can say one with and different from, but I prefer to say distinct and non-distinct, from the Lord. Yeah, so, and each of them has their own particular aspect. Of course, each of them worships Krishna in a different aspect also. Madhvacharya, generally baby, Gopal, Krishna is a small, in his Poganda age, means like as a baby, small, And then Ramanuja line, Lakshmi, because it's founded Lakshmi, so Lakshmi Narayan is, and they're the experts in, particularly the experts in Vidhi, in the perfect rules and regulations of how to practice Vaidhi Bhakti, and that's why Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, when he started the Gaudiya Math in the 1920s and 30s, in order to institute the order of sannyas, which hadn't been there in our Mahaprabhu's lineage previously. If someone wanted to become a renounced person, they would just leave home, wear white cloth, and just live alone like a Babaji. But in order for the preaching, he wanted to give the red cloth as symbolic of that, and make the delineation of Varnashram, Brahmachari, Grihastha, Vanaprastha, sannyas, like that, is to organize society in a way that people could practice Krishna consciousness in a more organized way. So, but in order to institute the sannyas, he went to South India and met with the Ramanuja acharyas and talked with them and got all the information about that we do it, which is it was, some of it was there in a book by Gopal Bhatta Goswami called the Hari Bhakti Vilas. Hari Bhakti Vilas is a big tome, it's about all these rules and regulations, particularly for householders, but also others. But And the extracted from there is a thing called Archana Padati that they use in ISKCON. There's a book called Archana Padati we used to do when we had to learn how to worship the deities. So that's those parts about the actual worship of the deity, the mantras and so forth. And it's interesting because we're Gaudiya, right? And Gaudiya Vaishnavas follows Mahaprabhu, and we think, the 6 Goswamis, the direct disciples, of Mahaprabhu, we think they're Bengali, but actually there's only Rupa and Sanatan were Bengalis. Yeah, Gopal Bhatta Goswami was a Tamil, he was from the south. Wow. Yeah, and his uncle was Prabodhananda Saraswati, who was a great devotee of Mahaprabhu, but he came to Bengal, and all that knowledge of this from the Ramanuja line, that's in Hari Bhakti Vilas. And so very interesting, this films. But I don't know what your question was, probably.
It's in regards to
what we
devotees that I know personally who have kind of stopped worshipping Mahaprabhu's line because of some discrepancies in Madhvacharya's philosophy.
Oh yeah.
And I don't know the specifics because I never talked to these devotees, but I know that it's not a huge thing, but it's something that's happened in our mission in Russia and Ukraine.
Oh really?
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't know about that. Yeah.
Yeah. When I find out more, I'll talk to you more about it. But Tyagi Maharaj knows about this.
The followers of Madhvacharya specifically, who did not Mahaprabhu, they're called Tattvavadis, and they have this huge monastery called Udupi in South India, and basically they don't it's not up to Madhurya Rasa essentially. Vatsalya Rasa is the ultimate, because it's baby Krishna, Yeah, and also what Srila Sridhar said, some difference that some development that Mahaprabhu gave that's not there with the Madhva is that in the Brahma Vimohan Leela, where Brahma stole the cows and that from Krishna and tried to trick Krishna, and then he realized who's Krishna and he apologized and all that. So that Leela is in the 10th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. So Madhvacharya, he gave commentary, he did a commentary on the Srimad Bhagavatam except for that chapter, because how is it possible that the guru of our whole sampradaya, Brahma Madhva, right, could be an illusion? That's, But from our point, it's like, well, why not? Krishna can do anything, of course, And that was one thing. And the other one that he mentioned was about that the gopis, that Madhvacharya considered they were heavenly, celestial beings, apsaras, not Svarup Shakti, not part of the internal expansions of Radharani, internal energy of Krishna directly. Yeah, so naturally, because again, it's not going to that Madhurya understanding. So if there's other things I don't know, but you're saying these people, they're saying that Mahaprabhu deviated or something in some way from Madhvacharya's thing.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, I see. Yeah. Okay. Well, it's not a deviation; it's a development.
Yes.
Of course. Yeah.
I think with Shankaracharya as well. His most famous is the Bhaj Govindam. So
Yeah. Bhaja Govinda, Buddha
people call him
See, the thing about Shankar is very, very interesting.
Why is Adi Shankaracharya not regarded as a Krishna devotee in the Vaishnava tradition?
You see, but it's one of those.
He just seems to talk all the time about how
well, apparently, this is what I understand. We're told in the Mahabharata that there's a discussion between Lord Narayan and Lord Shiva, and Lord Narayan is saying, in Kali Yuga, I'm asking that you incarnate as a Brahmin, Shankara, Adi Shankara, and spread this Mayavad monistic theory, to separate the Vaishnavas from the non-Vaishnavas. You know, that Bhakti Thakur gives the example, like in a hospital, you have more disease, less diseased. Everyone's in the hospital, like it's the material world, right? But Vaishnavas they'd be considered less diseased, because they're, you know, so those who are of atheistic tendency, they don't want to actually worship God, you know. So to take them to another section, another ward of the hospital. So he was tasked with that, and initially he objected, oh, but Lord, how can I do this? I'm your devotee, you know, Shiva, right? And Vaishnavam Yuta Shambhu, you know. But then Lord Narayana said, no, you're the one, you're the only one who can do this. Right? Lord Shiva's the power of destruction, to completely destroy any semblance of devotion in those people and take them to there so they can follow that, you know, and not disturb the Vaishnavas.
But the peculiar thing is, in today's world, all the various spiritual groups that see Shankaracharya as their param,
Yeah, of course.
they go around doing kirtan, japa, they are passionately chanting Krishna
Yes.
And if you ask any of them, is there anything higher than Bhakti? Many
Yes.
people say, no, there
But
isn't.
you see, that's the thing. But if you get down to it, and I was shocked, I was in Govinda's restaurant, speaking to this lad, a Hindu boy, you know, who was connected, I don't think he was initiated, but he was in their Mahabharat club or whatever it is, you know, the young group they have. And he was talking, you know, over lunch, and then I said, oh, so you're really liking this Christian consciousness, you know, because he was going on Harinam, Sankirtan and that. And he goes, yeah, I just really like it. And I said, then he said something like, so that we can, it's great that we can all go and attain, you know, become one with God, or something like that. It's still there, you know, it's down, didn't you scrape the surface, and it's there, you know. So powerful, Shankara's teaching, you know, it's pervaded everything. You see, so from one point of view, from Vaishnava point of view, he did a very good job. He drove Buddhism out of India. And Buddhism is openly atheistic, okay, denying the Vedas, or at least not at all giving anything to the Vedas. And okay, we're doing this. This is the teaching. It's a rational teaching. It's not based on revelation. It's based on what you perceive. World is suffering. How to get out of suffering. Okay, that's it. Buddha, I see, as a great psychologist, not even as a saint or prophet. He's an avatar. Okay, that's something else. We'll get on to that. Okay. Because Buddhists deny that. They say the Hindus just say that so that they can convert the Buddhists back to Hinduism by saying he's our man, actually, you know. Okay. So, but about Shankara, so then, yeah, he re-established the authority of the Vedas, saying no, the Upanishads and the Vedas, that's the thing. But his interpretation was monistic, was impersonal. So to say that actually there is one spirit, yes, but there's no individual jiva soul. Ultimately, jiva soul is illusion. No such thing. Only Brahma. Okay, so, but from the point of view that he re-established the authority of the Vedas, and then Buddhism kind of basically left from India to a large degree anyway, went east, and you know. So from that point of view, he sort of made a foundation for Vaishnavism then. Revival, Ramanuja, Madhvacharya, built on that, you know.
Can our human language, supposing you say there is only Brahma, we're here now in the material world, and supposing one person says there is only Brahma, and somebody else says no, there is the bypass, there is infinitely there is God, and always there will be a jiva. Are these not just words? Because ultimately they say God is a natural experience.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
how
but
can
that's
how can we find each other on human when we're all limited by human
yeah,
words?
that is true. But in the Gita teaching, you know, Krishna at the very beginning says, never was there a time when I did not exist, nor you, nor all of these, nor in the future shall any of us cease to be. So it is very important, actually, to understand that the jiva is eternal, is an eternal reality. You know, if the drop of water merges, this example they always give, merges with the ocean, then it's one. Not really. If you look, the molecules of that drop are still there inside the ocean. They haven't merged. So we are individual eternally.
But these don't just ways of saying the same thing. Because like Chaitanya said, you are, one, and yet even the, I think Ramakrishna Paramahamsa, he used to say that some devotees, they want to retain a little bit of, the individuality. So some people want to become sugar, some people want to remain separate so they can taste the sugar.
That's right. I was horrified because I read a book by Vivekananda, and it was like all reading through the book, it was like all good, Bhakti this, Bhakti that. The last line that he comes at the end, he goes, but ultimately, it's better not to taste sugar, but to be sugar. Oh my God!
Maybe he'll come around to the other way of thinking. But eventually, who knows?
But you see, for there to be a relationship, there has to be a difference, quote unquote.
But that just shows that even Adi Shankaracharya's lineage, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa belonged to that. Even they believe in the value of tasting the sugar, the importance of bhakti. He was a huge proponent of bhakti, and especially Krishna bhakti.
Yeah, but their ultimate thing is to become the sugar, isn't it not?
No, they actually say, in fact, it's a bit vague from what I understand. They actually say that
once
you get to a higher spiritual level, it almost God himself becomes your guide. And God is guiding you, but it's very difficult to really analyze it.
Yeah. There's I see two aspects here. One is
many of them say it's good to taste the sugar and stay at that level only.
Yeah. So if you worship God in his personal form aspect, then at a certain point you say, then we attain identity, then we throw it then all away. They said that was just an illusion. That bhakti wasn't real. How can it be real? Bhakti is eternal. If you love someone, and if that love is real, it's eternal. There's no beginning, no end. It's not like it's just a technique you employ to focus your attention. So we have a Vishnu, Krishna, and then when we attain this one, they just kick them away.
They all read the Bhagavatam. They all read that sentence where it says, you know much better than me, where it says there is nothing higher in this yoga than chanting the name of Krishna.
Mm-hmm.
And hence, in all the yoga centers everywhere in the world, you'll hear kirtan.
But what is the goal of that chanting? Is the goal to attain that oneness? Then it's not. Then that's the difference, There's on shloka. Sorry, I think in Maharaj it says, when those impersonalists chant my name, I feel like arrows in my body.
They are part of Krishna. All beings are part of Krishna.
Yeah.
All beings are destined to go to Krishna. So how can he say that if one is chanting my name? Like it's like a mother who has 10 children, and supposing one child is a well-behaved child, the other is signing on to you, and behaves a little badly, you won't hate that child.
No, of course you love all the children. Yeah. But what happens is that child, that particular child, as the goal, of the monists, merge with the effulgence of Krishna and is denied a personal relationship with Krishna for a long, not eternally, because nothing.
Supposing someone is childishly saying, doing kirtan, and they heard somewhere that the goal is to attain oneness of Krishna. They don't even know what that really means, because it's just a word. Well, attaining oneness of effulgence. What does it actually mean?
Well, it means they attain liberation, which is it's like in a deep sleep. You don't exist. You do exist, but because you're in a deep sleep, dreamless sleep, then you're not aware of your existence. But you're completely free from any negative, suffering, birth, death, all of that, But there's no relationship. There's not in having rasa with Krishna, relationship with Krishna. But excuse me, I just want to say that in another sense, in a higher sense, yes, when the devotee and Krishna are in a relationship, in a love relationship, the lover and the beloved are one. Actually, they're not ontologically one. They remain individuals. Lover is there, beloved is there. But in the relationship, in the love, they can't tell who is who. Am I? Which one? It's like there's like that oneness. Yeah, something like that.
Have to do their things.
Yeah, go ahead.
Maybe we can continue the discussion during Krishna.
Yes.